Well, good afternoon everyone. It's very nice of you to log in such numbers to see this performance, and thank you for your huge support, and not only for the purpose of hearing this fantastic poem by Tennyson, but also by doing so drawing attention to Catching Lives and this wonderful Canterbury-based charity which does so much for the homeless. And I have to thank you enormously for your numerous and very substantial donations, and I'm astonished to find now that we're well over £500, so that's marvellous. And of course also to thank Natasha, my lovely daughter, for pushing me into doing this on my birthday, which I'm very grateful for. It gave me something to aim for. And also my wife Nikki for playing the piano, and the Lighthouse and James Hatton for putting it on their internet platform. But of course the first question with poetry is always, why? Why? In this case, why is this winter chicken, me, reciting Morte to spring and summer chickens, you? Because this hugely dramatic verse by Tennyson means something to us now with its tale of chaos, massive change, destruction of an old order, and the beginning and the hope of a new one. I think a great poem is always relevant, rings down the ages, sings to us from the page of legend. The second question, even more important, is how long? How long is this winter chicken going to babble on this poem? Because the trouble is, if you don't know, you may suffer from, be attacked by a rather unusual mental condition called poetophobia, which is basically a panic attack in which you believe that you're trapped permanently in a poem. This actually won't happen. Tennyson's Morte lasts for precisely 17 minutes, 33 and a half seconds. Of course, being called Gawain, how could I not give you Morte? Gawain, as you know, was the most important knight at King Arthur's Round Table, the nephew and personal favourite of King Arthur himself, and, as it happens, irresistibly attractive to the many gorgeous damsels at Camelot who could barely wait to get their hands on him. But those were the days, but that's a story for another time. But another reason to bring this tale of change and renewal to your ears is that modern theory, based on Mallory, has relocated the whole Arthurian legend from the West Country to Dover and the surrounding areas, thus redefining Dover Castle as an alternative Camelot, and has plucked the Isle of Avalon from the Cornish seas, and Avalon, where Arthur was taken to be healed of his terrible wound, and zoomed it across country to our own Kentish Goodwin Sands. Avalon meaning the Isle of Apples, and Kent, of course, being the orchard of England. We sense that there was something out there, some lost Eden perhaps. Those names, there's mysterious resonances, the Goodwin Sands, the property of the Earl of Godwin in the 11th century, otherwise called the Lost Isle of Lomea, or the Romans referred to it as the Infera Insula, the low-lying island, drowned, inundated by floods in the mid-1050s. Echoes of legend and prehistory. As a boy, I always adored the legends of Arthur and his knights. To me, they were the ideal of what people could and should be like. And I think Arthur lives in all of us, and we all relish the notion that he's somewhere on this mysterious Isle of Avalon, or in some cavern in the Welsh mountains with his knights asleep, waiting for this call to come and rule once more and save the United Kingdom. Did I say the United Kingdom? In its hour of darkness. Perhaps Arthur has come already. Perhaps he's with us now. Perhaps he is due shortly. Like all legends, it's absolute nonsense, but in another sense profoundly true. Like all myths, it falls more to the bard, the poet, than the historian, to give us the best account of the case. So, my numerous Facebook friends, thank you again for supporting this, and my dear family who have made my birthday absolutely wonderful today by a long and wonderfully put together video celebrating nearly 50 years of marriage. So, my friends, the scene is set. The Armageddon of the early Middle Ages has been fought. The evil Mordred and his knights have been slain. Only Arthur, mortally wounded, and the last of his knights, the bold Sir Bedivere, remain on the field of battle. Two things remain to be done. The magic sword, Excalibur, returned to the mystic waters from which it arose and which it was drawn, and Arthur himself taken to the island valley of Avilion to be healed of his grievous wound. So, all day long the noise of battle rolled among the mountains by the winter sea, until King Arthur's table, man by man, had fallen in Lyonesse about their lord King Arthur. Then, because his wound was deep, the bold Sir Bedivere uplifted him. Sir Bedivere, the last of all his knights, and bore him to a chapel nigh the field, a broken chancel with a broken cross that stood on a dark strait of barren land. On one side lay the ocean, and on one lay a great water, and the moon was full. Then spake King Arthur to Sir Bedivere, "The sequel of today unsolders all the goodliest fellowship whereof this world holds record. Such a sleep they sleep, the men I loved. I think that we shall never more at any future time delight our souls with talk of knightly deeds, walking about the gardens and the halls of Camelot, as in the days that were. I perish by this people which I made, though Merlin sware that I should come again to rule once more. But let what will be, be. I am so deeply smitten through the helm, that without help I cannot last till morn. Thou therefore take my brand Excalibur, which was my pride, for thou rememberest how in those old days, one summer noon, an arm rose up from out the bosom of the lake, clothed in white samite, mystic, wonderful, holding the sword, and how I rode across and took it, and have worn it like a king. And wheresoever I am sung or told in after time, this also shall be known. But now delay not. Take Excalibur, and fling him far into the middle mere. Watch what thou seest, and lightly bring me word. To him replied the bold Sir Bedivere, Sir King, it is not meet that I should leave thee thus, aidless, alone, and smitten through the helm. A little thing may harm a wounded man, yet I thy hest will all perform at full. Watch what I see, and lightly bring thee word. So saying, from the ruined shrine he stepped, and in the moon athwart the place of tombs, where lay the mighty bones of ancient men, old knights, and over them the sea winds sang trill with flakes of foam. He, stepping down by zigzag paths and juts of pointed rock, came on the shining levels of the lake. There drew he forth the brand Excalibur, and o'er him drawing it, the winter moon, brightening the skirts of a long cloud, ran forth and sparkled keen with frost against the hilt. For all the haft twinkled with diamond sparks, myriads of topaz lights, and jacinth work of subtlest jewelry. He gazed so long that both his eyes were dazzled as he stood this way and that, dividing the swift mind in act to throw. But at the last it seemed better to leave Excalibur concealed there in the many knotted water flags that whistle stiff and dry about the marge. So strode he back slow to the wounded king. Then spake King Arthur to Sir Bedivere, Hast thou performed my mission which I gave? What is it thou hast seen, or what hast heard? And answer made the bold Sir Bedivere, I heard the ripple washing in the reeds, and the wild water lapping on the crag. To whom replied King Arthur, faint and pale, Thou hast betrayed thy nature and thy name, not rendering true answer as beseemed thy fealty, nor like a noble knight, for sure a sign had followed, either hand or voice, or else a motion of the mere. This is a shameful thing for men to lie. Yet now I charge thee, quickly go again as thou art lief and dear, and do the thing I bade thee, watch and lightly bring me word. Then went Sir Bedivere a second time across the ridge, and paced beside the mere, counting the dewy pebbles fixed in thought. But when he saw the wonder of the hilt, how curiously and strangely chased, he smote his palms together, and he cried aloud, And if indeed I cast the brand away, surely a precious thing, one worthy note, might thus be lost for ever from the earth, which might have pleased the eyes of many men. What good should follow this, if this were done? What harm undone? Deep harm to disobey, seeing obedience is the bond of rule. But it's well to obey then, if a king demand an act unprofitable against himself. The king is sick, and knows not what he does. But were this kept stored in some treasure house of mighty kings, someone might show it at a joust of arms, saying, King Arthur's sword, Excalibur, wrought by the lonely maiden of the lake. 9 years she wrought it, sitting in the deeps upon the hidden bases of the hills. So might some old man speak in the aftertime to all the people, winning reverence. But now much honour and much fame were lost. So spake he clouded with his own conceit, and hid Excalibur the second time, and so strode back slow to the wounded king. Then spake King Arthur, breathing heavily, What is it thou hast seen, or what hast heard? And answer made the bold Sir Bedivere, I heard the water lapping on the crag, and the long ripple washing in the reeds. To whom replied King Arthur, much in wrath, How miserable, and unkind, untrue, unknightly, traitor-hearted, woe is me! Authority forgets a dying king, made widowed of the power in his eye that bowed the will. I see thee what thou art, for thou the latest left of all the knights in whom should meet the offices of all. Thou wouldst betray me for the precious hilt, either from lust of gold, or like a girl valuing the giddy pleasure of the eyes. Yet for a man may fail in duty twice, and the third time may prosper. Get thee hence! Biddest thou spare to fling Excalibur, I will arise and slay thee with my hands. Then quickly rose Sir Bedivere, and ran, and leaping down the ridges lightly, plunged among the bulrush beds, and clutched the sword, and strongly wheeled, and threw it. The great brand made lightnings in the splendour of the moon, and flashing round, and whirled in an arch, shot like a streamer of the northern morn, where moving isles of winter shock by night with noises of the northern sea. So flashed and fell the brand Excalibur, but ere he dipped the surface rose an arm, clothed in white samite, mystic, wonderful, that caught him by the hilt and brandished him 3 times, and drew him under in the mere. Then lightly went the other to the king. Then spoke King Arthur, drawing thicker breath. Now see I by thine eyes that this is done. Speak out, what is it thou hast heard, or what hast seen? And answer made the bold Sir Bedivere, Sir King, I closed mine eyelids, lest the gems should blind my purpose. For I never saw, nor shall see, here or elsewhere, till I die, nor though I lived 3 lives of mortal men, so great a miracle as yonder hilt. Then with both hands I flung him, wheeling him, but ere he dipped the surface, behold an arm, clothed in white samite, mystic, wonderful, that caught him by the hilt, and brandished him 3 times, and drew him under in the mere. And answer made King Arthur, breathing hard, My end draws nigh, 'tis time that I were gone. Make broad thy shoulders to receive my weight, and bear me to the margin. And yet I fear my wound hath taken cold, and I shall die. So saying, from the pavement he half rose, slowly with pain, reclining on his arm, and looking wistfully with wide blue eyes, as in a picture. Him Sir Bedivere remorsefully regarded through his tears, and would have spoken, but he found not words, and took with care, and kneeling on one knee, o'er both his shoulders drew the languid hands, and rising bore him through the place of tombs. But as he walked, King Arthur panted hard, like one that feels a nightmare on his bed when all the house is mute. So sighed the king, muttering and murmuring at his ear, Quick, quick, I fear it is too late, and I shall die. But the other swiftly strode from ridge to ridge, clothed with his breath, and looking as he walked larger than human on the frozen hills, He heard the deep behind him, and a cry before. His own thoughts drove him like a goad. Dry clashed his harness in the icy caves and barren chasms, and all to left and right the bare black cliff clanged round him as he based his feet on juts of slippery crag that rang sharp smitten with the dint of armoured heels. And of a sudden, lo, the level lake and the long glories of the winter moon. Then saw they how there hove a dusky barge, dark as a funeral scarf from stem to stern beneath them. And descending, they were aware that all the decks were dense with stately forms, black-stoled, black-hooded, like a dream, by these three queens with crowns of gold, and from them rose a cry that shivered to the tingling stars, and as it were one voice, an agony of lamentation, like a wind that shrills all night in a wasteland where no one comes or hath come since the making of the world. Then murmured Arthur, "Place me in the barge," and to the barge they came. There those three queens put forth their hands and wept, and she that rose the tallest of them all and fairest took the king and laid his head upon her lap, and chafed his hands and called him by his name, complaining loud, and dropping bitter tears against his brow striped with dark blood. For all his face was white and colourless, and like the withered moon smote by the fresh beam of the springing east, and all his greaves and cuisses dashed with drops of onset, and the light and lustrous curls that made his forehead like a rising sun high from the dais throne were parched with dust, or clotted into points and hanging loose, mixed with the nightly growth that fringed his lips. So like a shattered column lay the king, not like that Arthur who with lance in rest from spur to plume a star at tournament shot through the lists at Camelot, and charged before the eyes of ladies and of kings. Then loudly cried the bold Sir Bedivere, "Ah, my Lord Arthur, whither shall I go? Where shall I hide my forehead and mine eyes? For now I see the true old times are dead, when every morning brought a noble chance, and every chance brought out a noble knight. Such times have not been since the light that led the holy elders with the gift of myrrh. For now the whole round table is dissolved, which was an image of the mighty world, and I, the last, go forth companionless, and the days darkened round me, and the years among new men, strange faces are the minds." And slowly answered Arthur from the barge, "The old order changeth, yielding place to new, and God fulfills himself in many ways, lest one good custom should corrupt the world. Comfort thyself. What comfort is in me? I have lived my life, and that which I have done may he within himself make pure. But thou, if thou shouldst never see my face again, pray for my soul. More things are wrought by prayer than this world dreams of. Wherefore let thy voice rise like a fountain for me night and day. For what are men better than sheep or goats that nourish a blind life within the brain, if knowing God they lift not hands of prayer, both for themselves and those who call them friend? For so the whole round earth is every way bound by gold chains about the feet of God. But now, farewell. I am going a long way with these, thou seest, if indeed I go, for all my mind is clouded with a doubt, to the island valley of Avilion, where falls not hail or rain or any snow, nor ever wind blows loudly, but it lies deep-meadowed, happy, fair with orchard lawns and bowery hollows, crowned with summer sea, where I will heal me of my grievous wound. So said he, and the barge with oar and sail moved from the brink like some full-breasted swan, that fluting a wild carol ere her death ruffles her pure cold plume and takes the flood with swarthy webs. Long stood Sir Bedivere, revolving many memories, till the hull looked one black dot against the verge of dawn, and on the mere the wailing died away. Serious stuff, everyone. Not many jokes there. But thank you again enormously for your support and for making this occasion so special for me and my family. And I'm enormously grateful to you all. I'd just like to say a word or two about Catching Lives, and then Nikki and I will close off and say goodbye to you in the best way we can by making music. I think the one thing that's held our family together, and will always do so until the very end, has been music and poetry. And so that's how we'd like to say goodbye to you. Catching Lives, I'm just referring to my notes now because my brain's a bit scrambled by the poem. It's a small, independent, Canterbury-based charity, and especially now in these times is in enormous need of our help. I connect with it and with its vision of a society where all are included, and no matter how disadvantaged, everyone can make a contribution. It has a great ethos, I think, of inclusivity. Also, and this particularly interests me, it's a charity which gives special attention to mental health issues. A problem, of course, for many of us, but a huge issue for the homeless. Who can conceive the loneliness and darkness of mind, the despair, which can fall on those who are alone, destitute, without friends or family, and without an abode, without a home, a door to open, a hall to go into, and a light to switch on. I commend this remarkable charity to you, and thank you once again, and we're now going to say goodbye in the best way we know how. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Thank you very much.